And okay, our next speaker is Janani Ravi, and she is an assistant professor at Michigan State University. Janani is also the founder of two organizations that promote diversity in data science, Our Ladies East Lansing and Women Plus Data Science. And she will talk about some strategy to build a diverse AsiaR community. So let's welcome Janani.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. First and foremost, I'm really excited to be here today. It's the first time I'm attending BioC Asia. So I'm really happy. And special thanks to Kozo Nishida for giving me this opportunity to be here today. Actually, my only exposure to Japanese is through anime and Duolingo. I can only say Watashi wa Janani desu, and that's about it. So have very limited working Japanese knowledge. Anyway, so today I will be talking about building an AsiaR community. So my path and my connections to R and BioC are kind of multifold. First and foremost through research. I'm a computational biologist. I'm an assistant professor at MSU, and in our group, we develop approaches to study infectious diseases, both on the pathogen and host side, to study molecular basis of pathogenesis as well as intervention of infectious diseases. But more importantly, and equally passionate, I'm equally passionate about education, outreach, and diversity using R and data science. So towards that, I founded these two organizations, and I was also the program committee chair for USER 2021. And more recently, thanks to this, I've also started engaging a lot more with the ROpenSci and bioconductor communities. And that's how I actually met Kozo and a few other folks from the BioC community. So I wanted to briefly talk about our communities in Asia, where the gaps are and what can we do to build a much stronger and diverse community here. So Ben Uber has built a beautiful R Shiny dashboard for all our meetups, including Our Ladies. So this is a quick snapshot of the active chapters alone across the world. And as you can see, there are close to 1,000 active R user groups. But given the population and the number of technology-based academic and industry firms in Asia, there are actually only a handful of active chapters. And that's kind of surprising. And in fact, we only realized this huge gap further when we were hosting this global R conference. We had several hundred registrants, but they were under less than 100, less than say 75 or 50 people from the major, most populous Asian countries. And that really came as quite a shock to us. So Aditi and I, Aditi is working in ILK Labs, and she's also the founder of Our Ladies Bangalore in India. We started talking and we were wondering what we can do to increase this representation in such global R conferences. And more importantly, how can we build a strong and robust AsiaR community for years to come? And towards this, what we decided to do was to just give it a shot and host an incubator. We had surprisingly good reception, and folks from several countries actually joined the incubator. And we've had several conversations since, including a recent one last week. So we had people join in from India, Japan, South Korea, Nepal, Pakistan, and a few other countries too. So these were a few of the main goals that we kind of outlined, meaning how do we connect Asian users to each other, right? Now, actually what the Tatsuya mentioned was kind of an excellent segue to what I'm going to be talking about, because one of the huge barriers in Asia, and even if you just take one of the countries like say India, even though there are so many people who are using R across the different states, there's a huge language barrier, right? Yes, it's true that many of the cities still have the primary mode of instruction in English, but still there is a huge lack of communication when you go from one state to another, and especially when you go from one country to another. So we wanted to find ways in which we can actually connect our users from one country and one community to another across these barriers. We wanted to identify our users who can be speakers, participants in webinars, workshops, conferences, and everything, because there seems to be such a low representation given the number of excellent users there. And also we wanted to most importantly figure out what are the best ways, given the barriers in a lot of these countries, some of which are also low income countries or middle income developing countries, how do we create and sustain these R communities? And then while speaking to a few of these countries, when I said, how do we improve diversity, they started laughing at me. I was wondering, why are you laughing? They said, oh, you're talking about improving diversity, but you have to realize that there is actually no diversity at all. For instance, when they go to a lot of R user groups, they said it's almost 99% men, almost all the time. And that's not great at all, given that I personally know in each of these countries that there are R users. So we want to know what are the barriers that are not letting them come to the forefront. And how do we, as I going back to user and R Studio on these global R conferences, such as BioC, how do we increase this representation? But as I said, there are many, many local organizations, whether it's a local statistical community or local R user groups. We want to know how we can best engage with these local communities towards building the global community. And hopefully we want to have some kind of a target. So maybe in 2-3 years down the line, we want to host the first AsiaR conference. And I'm also looking forward to working with the BioC Asia community to have at least one bioinformatics focused session on that. So far how we have engaged is to just have either a Google document or a HackMD document where that is crowdsourced, where people throw in their ideas about what are the challenges, what do they think are the best strategies to move forward and build this community. And if you are interested in this, please also sign up using the bit.ly link, AsiaR_sign up. And we will let you know when we are going to talk again, maybe in a couple of months. So a few of the topics that we've already spoken about are financial support, sustenance, community engagement, because there is this imbalance also between Pi and R usage. How do we make sure we reach out to the R folks and actually any data science folks, especially in the context of improving gender balance and diversity? And most importantly, even in cities that have millions and millions of people, it seems like the meetup attendance is really poor. There are less than 10 people who show up. So we want to actively work on meetup attendance from one event to another. So please reach out to me or Aditi, and we can figure out the next steps. So the first thing that we are doing is to talk to folks, representatives from each of these countries and regions, identify what the problems are so that we can identify specific solutions to each and every one of these problems. And we want to probably publish a few of our findings so that other communities can also find it useful. We want to model upon really successful regional communities like Latin R or the Middle Eastern and North African MENA R community that have set up an excellent model in the past few years. And they have a thriving community where they have very successful meetups and local conferences. We hope to be talking again in December towards the next steps towards AsiaR. But as I said, building a community is great. That's the first step. But what we also want to do is to build a diverse community. And an awesome way to do this is to form and foster Our Ladies communities. So for those of you who may not be familiar, you may be asking, who are Our Ladies? So Our Ladies is a global, worldwide organization that promotes gender diversity in the R Stats community through meetups, mentorships, and they provide a safe and friendly environment, especially focusing on women and gender minorities. But many of the chapters, including ours, actually open up the meetups to everyone, including cis male. But we just encourage minority genders to come to the forefront and present and learn R. And this has actually grown a lot since Gabriella founded it a few years ago. There are more than 200 chapters now across 60 countries and close to 100,000 members. But once again, you will see there's a huge gap here. There are only 16 chapters in Asia. And when you look closer, only a few of them are actually active. So I want to take you through a little bit of my personal journey and how I came about Our Ladies. So I was actually looking to join a local community, but found that there was nothing in Michigan. So I thought, hey, you know what? There's this great community on Twitter. There is this great Our Ladies Slack. Why don't I start a chapter? And surprisingly, very quickly, I found that there were so many people who actually found this gap. Because in quantitative biology, as many of you know, there is this huge gender gap. And many of them were actually looking for such a safe space where they can engage with other minority genders to learn and discuss everything pertaining to our programming language. And now, in less than 3 years, we have more than 600 members. So it was a lot more fun, definitely pre-pandemic. We had a lot of in-person events, hands-on workshops, and also conferences. And we had folks from 20 plus colleges, disciplines. We hosted several meetups. We got funding for several of these meetups and national conferences. And we about 70% or 80% of every one of our events are attended by women and LGBTQIA plus members. And almost all of our events are hosted by minority genders. And it's been really successful. And more importantly, it's been such a fun journey to learn and promote R. So I want to see how I can bring this experience towards building the AsiaR community. And as I said, there are only a few of these. Now, only the pink ones with the ticks are actually the active communities. A lot of others are proposed, or even before they had their first meetup, they have fallen off the radar. So we want to know which one of you are interested in taking this forward and in building these strong communities, because one of the things that we also do with Our Ladies is to mentor new and upcoming chapters. So we basically need a lot more activity in Asia. So how can you get involved? Tell others about AsiaR. We just formed a new Slack, and I will throw all of these links also into the BioC Asia Slack channel for day 3 with my name. Other things that people can do is, if you're social butterflies, or if you're interested in creating and maintaining website, that is something you can do. Or if you want to give talks or know people who can give talks, either at workshops or conferences, please let us know. You can, we can have job boards. They can be an active community, like a lot of these other R Slacks, where people can post and answer each other's questions, so that there is a lot of community building even between events. And we were discussing just recently that another way to constantly engage is to not just have one meetup per chapter, but because a lot of these are now happening virtually, these can actually be cross-advertised. For instance, during the pandemic, we, another chapter from Chicago, have been co-hosting events, which means every month you don't have to figure out, oh, who am I going to host now? But you can actually take turns. 1 month it can be a chapter from South Korea, 1 month it can be a chapter from Japan, and another month it can be a couple of next few months can be from, say, India or Nepal, right? But you'll have this constant flux of different speakers from different disciplines, and we can put together this plan beforehand so that we know who's taking care of what. And that way, having these regular events, as well as having an active Slack, GitHub, and Twitter community, we will be able to build towards a longer term goal of hosting these global conferences such as AsiaR, and to also have a long-term community with great sustenance plan. So I just wanted to finish up early. If any of you have questions on Art Ladies, on building the AsiaR community, what have we done already? What are we planning to do next? Or any other way that you may want to engage, I'm looking forward to talking to you more, either through Slack or now during the Q&A. Thank you so much once again for this fantastic opportunity. And thank you.
Thank you, Janani. And there is a question from Kozo Nishida. The question is there any documentation or something such as success stories in the Art Ladies community to overcome language barriers?
Yes, as I mentioned, one of the most successful stories is from the Latin art community. So most of the chapters there, the primary language, I won't even say most, I think all of them. In fact, all of the chapters, their primary language is not English. It's either Spanish or Portuguese. So what people have done is, through a community-driven or crowdsourced effort, people have translated everything, including the R for Data Science book. They have actually translated a lot of key workshop and other blog material. They have, so there are community engaged tweeters. So even during user, for instance, that was one of our huge accomplishments. For the first time in user, we had 3 different languages and not just English in terms of speakers and workshops. So again, there is so much we can learn from these global conferences and communities like Latin art, where even if English is not your first language, how can we still work with you? How can we work with local folks and translators so that we can share material and share resources, and more importantly, share knowledge? So yes, we want to, that's one of the main barriers we want to address when we are building the AsiaR community.
Thank you. And Sona Charles asked, may I know the approximate number of R users in India?
I do not have the stats for that, but that is one of the things that I'm looking for, because, well, for a country with 1 billion people, I think it's very hard to come across those stats. That's why I pulled very local stats from our user groups, our ladies groups, and the user conference, because these I had access to. But that's a fantastic question. And in fact, now I was also talking to someone recently who's going to host the Indian Statistical Association conference. And I'm very curious about how many people typically attend these meetings, because a lot of those people, about 90% of those people, are going to be our users once again. So if and when I know it, I'll definitely post it on Slack.
Thank you. And Kozo has another question. There seem to be Art Ladies in some Asian countries like India or some others. So are they organized by you?
Actually, no, they have their own organizers, but I have been actively engaged with quite a few of these chapters. For one of the chapters from my home city, I helped them kick off the chapter. And 2 or 3 other chapters, I helped them initially. I also gave workshops and spoke at few of these other meetups. And I regularly talk to people to see if there is any way in which I can help. But no, they have their own organizers, and they're really good people too. So we want to know who are the local talent and local folks who are interested in doing this. And all we want to do is support and help.
Thank you. Matt Ritchie has asked, are there any countries in Asia who you are currently looking for contexts in to have represented in the AsiaR
Sorry, could you repeat the last part again?
Yeah, are there
I
any
can't see the
countries
question.
in Asia who you are currently looking for contacts in to have represented in the AsiaR?
So if you're asking who are the folks who are participating currently in AsiaR, we have people from the Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal. We also have several folks actually from Japan and South Korea. And we have a few members from Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia as well. And few of them are already involved with Our Ladies, but many of them, turns out, are interested in starting new chapters. Some of them are very successful organizers of our user groups, and they want to know how they can work with chapters from other countries to host these cross-country meetups, workshops, or conferences. I'm not sure if I exactly answered your question, Matt, but I didn't get the context part of your question alone. So if you can clarify, maybe I can address that too.
I think he's asking whether there is some country that is lacking a representative and.
Oh, which of them are lacking? Sorry. Okay. Yes, we are yet to find representatives from, surprisingly, from China, Taiwan, we just have one person who has responded to us. We are also looking for folks from Thailand, Vietnam, and a few of these other countries, where we know that there are lots of our users because we see their great packages, but we are still finding the best way to engage them.
Thank
or rather
you.
work with them.
Yeah, Jeremy Silva replied that I think we are lacking those from Thailand and Vietnam.
Yes, we are. But I've reached out to a few people, and I have some old grad school friends, so hopefully something will work out sooner rather than later.
Cool. That's very nice. So thank you for your presenting, and thank you for answering such a large number of questions.
Oh, no, my pleasure. Thank you so much once again. I'm looking forward to the rest of the conference. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, and bye.